Hello, and welcome to this webinar where we'll discuss HPE GreenLake, the cloud that comes to you. I'm Ann Taylor, contributing editor with IDG. The cloud has provided multiple benefits in terms of speed, scalability, and efficiencies, but not all workloads are suited for public clouds. Now it's possible to gain those same advantages in your on-prem or co-location environments. We'll discuss how that works in today's discussion. Let me turn this over to the first of our speakers. Bob Powell is the Data Center Solution Architect at PDS. Bob, could you tell us about your company and its relationship with HPE?
Hi, yes, my name is Bob Powell, and I am a Principal Solution Architect at PDS. My role at PDS is to identify and define the right mix of technology and services that enable our customers to digitally transform. I'm joined today by Dan Barr from HPE. Dan has a wonderful history within the HPE community, and he'll be leading us through the GreenLake conversation today. But before I turn it over to Dan, I wanted to talk about a little bit about how PDS and HPE are better together. HPE and PDS have enjoyed a long history of partnership. Our multiple HPE Platinum Partner designations have been earned through ever-increasing levels of demonstrated competency, experience, and industry certification. Together, we offer complete solutions with the right blend of HPE and PDS expertise to address the unique situation of every customer. Our topic today, HPE GreenLake, makes this partnership even stronger. At its heart, it enables HPE and PDS to bring a public cloud-style operational experience to your on-prem data center. As I mentioned, Dan Barr is joining me today to provide more information on the fundamentals of HPE GreenLake. Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Bob, and thank you, Ann. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to sharing some information about GreenLake and then how that's a solution, hopefully, for a lot of you listening. And PDS, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to do this. So, as Bob mentioned, I've been with HP for a long time, and we've been talking about GreenLake for quite a while as well. We're one of the leaders in that area of IT as a service or consumption electronics. So looking forward to kind of giving a little bit of background on how we got here and where we're heading. And so to that end, let me take you through kind of what's caused this or what's taken us through. So what's caused this whole excitement about IT as a service has really been this digital transformation we've all been experiencing, not only in our commercial or business lives, but also our personal lives. You see that with everything streaming, digital applications, music, videos, things we do in our everyday life. And so the public cloud, I think all of us are aware of some of the companies out there like AWS and Azure and others that have been providing a solution for a lot of customers. So customers are anxious. We look at the cloud, though, as not a destination as much as an experience. People are going there because they like the ease of use. They like the economics. They like being able to have capacity on demand, paying only for what they use. And so as we look at kind of where the market and the world are today, people have been moving their apps and their data to the cloud. But the challenge is a lot of these legacy apps and data are being a challenge or require being on-premise in your own data center because of security, because of the challenge of moving it to the public cloud. And so what we're seeing is really almost a system of kind of like that bridge, but 70% of the apps and data are not able to move over to the public cloud easily. And so 30%, the easy ones, have probably already done it. The challenging ones are there and looking kind of for what is an alternative solution. We're recognizing that there's advantages to being on-prem because you have proximity to your data, you have proximity and security that you can manage yourself. It's able to pick out your own configuration or technology you want to use. But again, that cloud experience that gives you capacity, economics, ease of use, less management is something a lot of people are looking for. And when you look at kind of the differences between the on-premise solution, what we've found are there's really four major or typical IT problems people run into. The first one being the capacity. You always seem to have to buy more than you need to manage and keep track of because you don't want to shortchange your users or the business groups that you are supporting. And typically IDC and Gartner say the average is compute's 59% over-provisioned or over-purchased, and storage is nearly 50% as well. Another problem you have with when you're on-premise is what? The acquisition, the provisioning timeline. Again, IDC and Gartner, some industry analysts, are showing us that typically from the time you decide I need more capacity, whether it's storage or compute, and you're going to start adding more technology, from the time you decide what you want, create a requisition for purchasing it, putting out an RFP, looking through the quotes, deciding, getting it back, and finally standing it up in your data center, 133 days is average. It's nearly 4 months or over 4 months of time to procure it. Time and wasted energy. IT resources, again, industry shows us that typically it's about 80% of IT staff or resources are being used to just take care of maintaining uptime at a data center. This is kind of daily care and feeding of patches, software, updates, those kind of things that your team are taking care of, which probably could be better directed being something a competitive advantage, providing more technology to their users or more solutions. And then finally, the security concerns that come with having that data go out to the public cloud. People want to make sure they're in compliance, that they have proximity to their data. They don't feel comfortable or can't leave for a variety of reasons. And so that's one reason they want to stay on premise. So the trade-off is I can have the experience of the cloud or I can have the advantages of being on premise. And it's been a trade-off one way or the other. This is where HPE's solution, which we call GreenLake, is coming into play. The world we see is not going to be a hybrid, or rather a one or the other choice. It's going to be public cloud or it's going to be on-premise, but rather it's going to be a hybrid solution. We see most customers are going to want both. And so here's what the GreenLake experience provides you. The buffering capacity. This is an on-premise solution. We put the technology, the compute or storage or networking solution you choose from HPE's portfolio on-premise or in your co-location. And then at that point, not only do we have enough capacity for you, but we put in additional capacity. And it's free. You only pay for it if you use it and when you use it. We also give you the entire portfolio, as mentioned. So this is architected or composed to make the best use of what you need for those applications and that data that you have in your data center. We also provide metering technology. This is going to allow you all kinds of capabilities, not only to track your usage, to plan it, align it, but it also gives you cash savings because we're not going to have that unused over-provisioned capacity of storage or compute in your data center. And finally, this is delivered as a service. It is not a gimmicked or tricked up lease, but this is definitely IT as a service. It can be an OpEx or CapEx solution for your accountants, and it's going to give you all the solutions or experience of a cloud as far as not having the big cash outlays up front. We'll go into all these a little bit more in detail in just a moment. But that's it, a cloud experience on-premise. So here's kind of an example of how this GreenLake works. So in the past, this gray line indicates what your typical storage or compute usage would be. And like most people, it's typically up and to the right. Sometimes it's flat. Sometimes it even dips a bit. When we were typically acquiring technology, what do? You'd go through a budget cycle, and this blue line indicates I'm going to over-provision, I'm going to overbuy, so I've got enough. And eventually you'll see where my needs or my usage are going to cross that. And in fact, I'm going to run out of capacity. So I'll be in a panic trying to quickly acquire it and go through the whole purchase order process and get more in. I'll over provision and I'll kind of keep doing that over time. That's been traditional. It's kind of been a rinse, wash, repeat process. Well, here's how GreenLake operates. That gray line is a buffer. That's the amount of capacity we put in your data center so that we manage it and we stay with a headroom more than a buffer of more than what you typically need or use. So what does this do? This saves you cost of over provisioning. It also gives you the risk-free, not going to run out of capacity because you have an extra buffer in there. Typically it's 20%. And you're going to have the savings of not outlaying all that cash up front for technology you're not going to use for months or years down the road. When we go into the GreenLake actual reserve level, that's the green dotted line, what that represents is typically 80% of the technology that we put in your data center. So that's the required minimum or reserve level that you're committing to. You'll pay that on a monthly basis, kind of like you do with your cell phone. Whether you use all of it or not, that's what you'll pay for. And then the other 20% is that buffer that you can go into when you need extra capacity, anytime, any day, any place. So with that, how does the whole process work? Pretty simple. You work with PDS, you choose what kind of solution makes the most sense, whether it's storage or compute, which models, which technology, order it, it's brought in. HPE and PDS will install and start up and set it up for you. Once it's all set, we'll also put in HPE GreenLake Central, which is our metering, and I'll go into that in more detail, but it's a one single pane portal that'll give you all kinds of access to your usage anytime you want to see it and know what you're using, how you're using it, and give you all kinds of details. And then over time, as you grow, one of the nice things about GreenLake is when you finally do grow and need more capacity, it's a simple change order that brings in more capacity. So you don't go through that entire long, lengthy, up to 4 months sometimes or even more procurement cycle, but rather a change order and the equipment is brought in. This is because we have a GreenLake agreement in place, and I'll go into how that works, but you have pricing bands that clearly lay out what your costs are on a usage basis, and it gives you predictability. So if you need to grow and what you're going to need, there's no confusion, there's no last-minute changes or alterations to the price. It's all laid out clearly for you. So here's GreenLake Central, a little bit more of a deep dive into that. As I mentioned, it's one pane of glass. We'll show you your usage in a variety of ways. Your partner PDS will have access to help you look at this and also analyze it, as well as part of GreenLake is you'll have an HPE specialist that works on GreenLake Central. We'll help make sure you maximize its usage best to get the information you need. So with GreenLake Central, what's nice about that is the reports give you a variety of information that's useful to a variety of people. So that single pane of glass, I can see, for example, for billing, my capacity, what's being used, my compliance, all from one pane of glass. Pretty intuitive. If it's green, you're in good shape. Yellow, kind of guidance, and then red, kind of an alert that we need to work on that. You'll also be able to see your monthly charges. So you can look at this and have what we like to call accountability. You can see and drill down by department, by equipment, by port, by device, by day, by user, any kind of way, and see who's using it and gives real accountability to make sure if you're having expenses and budgets that it matches up appropriately. In addition, for planning types of things, you can look and see what's going to make the most sense. As I mentioned, we don't see it as a all cloud or all on-premise, but rather it's going to be hybrid. And so if you are using Azure or AWS or public clouds, I can put in their costs and I can look at individual costs of a project and determine based on proactively analyzing it, where does it make most sense to put that? On-premise with the HPE GreenLake or go out to the public cloud? It's a case of just analyzing it and making the best decision based on the best information. And then finally, as I mentioned, you can drill down. One of the things that people like is the licensing or the security factors is when you're looking at trying to be in compliance, for example, with all of your licenses, you can take a look at them, and not only will it tell you where you need to take action, but it'll tell you what action to take, and it'll also create an audit trail for you. So all the features that you get with GreenLake Central come standard, and it gives you capabilities to look and plan accordingly. And over the years, you're going to want that because with GreenLake, one of the nice features is we expect you to continue to grow through usage through the years. And how that works is rather than the traditional way where maybe you acquired or leased equipment, and in the example I'm showing, 2021, I would buy everything this year, and over the next 3 years for the 4-year period, it would all be that 2021 technology. Well, with GreenLake, because we only put in and we size correctly what you need today, we assume you're going to need additional technology in the future. So that might be some more of the, if I'm using an example of Gen 10 servers today, I'm putting in more Gen 10 servers 6 months or 12 months from now, but maybe we introduce Gen 11 servers. I'd like to include those and start introducing those. Great. We can make that part of your solution so you can start bringing in and taking advantage of the latest, greatest technology rather than sweating, equipment maybe 6, 7 years and being challenged by how well that works into your environment and your applications and your data. So the whole point is you really have an evergreen solution with HPE GreenLake, and that we continue to bring in new equipment. So here's how it really works as far as when we set up pricing for you. This pricing band will give you several bands. First of all, depending on what your solution is, we can measure it by compute or by storage. Maybe it's gigabyte, maybe it's terabyte, maybe it's by server, maybe it's by blade, maybe it's by port. Whatever makes the most sense for you, we'll track it that way and measure it. We'll give you bands, and it's probably a little challenging to see this smaller print, but the way it works is at the entry points, you'll maybe be for a gigabyte, 6 cents a band, and as you grow and move into the next band with more capacity, your price will go down. So maybe you go from 6 cents to 5.5 cents, and as you move to the next band to 5 cents. So the nice thing is not only is your price going down as you increase capacity for storage or compute, but all the equipment from that point on goes to that lower price band and takes advantage of that. So it's a benefit to continue to grow and gives you a better price advantage. Initially, too, when you put in the equipment into the data center, it's not like you have to go and buy all of it up front like you did traditionally, but I only buy what I need. So you're going to have up-cost front savings. You're going to have cash savings. What is that cash going to be worth to you? What can you do with that today and in the coming months that you couldn't do because you dedicated in the traditional old way to go into all that equipment that's going to sit in your data center, eating up energy, eating up your people's time? We call it warranty burn. So now you only buy what you need, when you need, and you also have that 20% additional buffer. And that, by the way, is a shared risk model with HPE. If you never went into that 20% additional buffer, you'd never pay for it. But when you do need it, that's the cloud experience. Burst into that 20% additional buffer that's sitting there in your data center, use it, and at the end of the month, we'll bill you only for the time you used it, and that's all. And when I mention this predictable pricing, you've got your pricing bands, everything's locked in, and these are typically 3, 4, 5-year agreements. 4 years kind of the sweet spot. And for that period of time, you're locked in. So if there are challenges in the industry that prices are going up, there's tariffs or taxes, any of those kind of things, not a problem for you because all that's locked in. You'll have no additional costs. It's locked in. Predictability. And by the way, all your services and support locked in, paid for up front, so you don't have to do those renewals and things. And we'll give you some comparisons just to make sure you're tracking and see the benefits of GreenLake. And I'll tell you, I'll go into more detail, but for over 10 years, HPE has been doing IT as a service, the GreenLake solution, if you will, and we have over a 95% retention of our customers over the 10-year period. So people really like this, they find a benefit, and they want to stay with it. So I mentioned support's included. If you appreciate the benefit of good support, you're going to love GreenLake because here's a list of all the assigned resources, and there's people in there that are going to help manage the equipment when it's on site with you and also PDS. We're going to give you an experience manager. We're going to give you a critical event manager. So if there is an unplanned downtime for some reason, we've got the right people that'll take you right to the highest levels of support within HPE. So a variety of resources that are assigned at the start. I mentioned the proactive. One of the things we like to do is give you our best services. And with that, it's proactive. So what we'll do is we'll look for the problem and try to basically fix it before it breaks rather than see how fast we can fix it after it breaks. We start logging a drive that's starting to fail or have some failure. Let's replace it before it takes the system down. I mentioned implementation services. It'll be HPE and PDS that'll come on site and install and get you set up and started up with the experience and the knowledge of all the equipment so you get to take advantage of them. And again, dedicate your people to doing what makes the most sense and gives you the competitive advantage rather than having taken care and feeding over the long run. And then finally, the capacity management services. We talked about GreenLake Central. All that artificial intelligence and the proactive ability to not only manage and see what you're using today, but also where my workloads and my data should be going in the future. So it's a great advantage. The call center experience, when you did have a plan, one of the things, if you're familiar with HPE support, versus foundation care or warranty or proactive. Data center care comes standard. That's our highest level, our white gloves services, if you will. And so one of the things, that's our call center experience, level 2 engineers, if you will. If there's any kind of unplanned downtime, they'll take care of it. The call centers of excellence, if you have some of the most popular third-party solutions out there, SAP and Veeam and VDI solutions, we've got the engineers that know those as well and can help work with you. So what does GreenLake provide overall? Over-provisioning, we eliminate that issue. The cash flow, by having the minimum required equipment, if you will, versus outlaying and putting too much capacity of storage or compute in your data center, you save a lot of cash. What does that cash flow mean to you? What can that save you? That's what GreenLake will provide. Also, we put the equipment in your data center, so the benefits of being on-premise are yours. That proximity to the data, the security, picking out your own configurations, all part of GreenLake. The extra 20% buffer capacity means when you do need something, you're not going to have to wait months to put the extra capacity in, but rather just a click and move into the buffer, or a simple change order, and that equipment is in sight, and you eliminate that entire procurement cycle. Pricing is all predictable because it's all laid out in the GreenLake agreement, so you know your pricing, your bands, and it's all laid out, easy enough. And finally, the services, as I mentioned, data center care, our white gloves is all included. It's part of GreenLake, so no hidden costs or any charges. These all result in some big savings. These are our estimates, but what we'd love to do is with PDS, talk about what the actual time savings are for you, what that mitigating of risk will be for you, what the outlay of CapEx or OpEx and the initial outflow of cash means to you, and then having that control and visibility. We would think of a lot of those as unquantified benefits, and it's a little bit of a challenge because if your first-time experience is going to be with GreenLake as IT as a service, if you're trying to compare it to the transactional way you've acquired technology in the past, the challenge is it's kind of an apples to oranges comparison. If you don't put a value, for example, on the time savings, on the cash flow savings, on the extra levels of support and service that you get, the accountability and the management of knowing usage and predictability, you're probably going to not realize the benefits of GreenLake. But if you were to go through this chart basically and look and put some values to the time, the cash, the people type savings, you'll see that GreenLake is definitely worth taking a look at. Now here's how many people have taken a look in the 10 years. This is why HPE is one of the leaders, if not the leader, in this solution. And it's kind of a hybrid solution, right? We're not just on-premise and we're not just a cloud experience, but we're kind of the best of both worlds. And that's what's really appealing to some people. More than 1,000 customers, more than 10 years of experience. And the number I really like to focus on is that 90% customer retention. It's actually about 95% of the customers over the past 10 years have not only tried GreenLake, but they're staying with it and continue to grow because they love the cloud experience and they love the benefits of being on-premise. So lots of ways to look at the benefits, and it's typically 1, 2, or 3 of the reasons that we've been talking about this morning that makes sense, and people like to say those are the reasons I need to move to this cloud experience, and I need to take a look at GreenLake, and we'd love to help you do that. All right, so summarizing, with GreenLake, there's a lot of benefits that go with a lot of the features you've seen, but to kind of simplify it into one statement, we can accelerate your IT, move to digitizing and moving into that public cloud hybrid world. We're going to simplify it. We take risk out of the equation, one, by adding services, putting extra capacity, putting extra capabilities around that. And again, it's a pay-as-you-go rather than outlaying cash up the front. And so this extra cash is going to not only save you money, but it's going to help fund your IT transformation. And people a lot of times, Bob, a lot of times we get asked, how much is a typical GreenLake deal? And absolutely, we've got some huge deals with some of the biggest enterprise customers out there jump on board and see all these big savings. But a lot of, if you will, the SMB commercial market, even the schools and county executive businesses out there are seeing it as well. So here's a chart, and this is for storage. And if you're familiar with some of our storage products like Nimble, these are a few of the different products. And basically what it's saying is if they're as low as 30 terabytes as a starting point, and that would put you at $1,250 a monthly cost. And we can move that up as well, and you can see for a 4-year period, what you'd be looking at for that product would be about $60,000 for a GreenLake cost to get you all the benefits of that. In addition, here on the compute side, we've taken some of the ProLiant models, the 325, the 360, the 380, 85, and put in some various minimum starts for servers. We're looking at about $1,700 per month, or about $82,000 over the 4-year period. So you'll see this is very aggressive pricing. It's very similar to what you maybe might find in the cloud. And again, what I would offer on the cloud is it's an experience versus a destination. And I've even had some customers tell me that when they first started hearing about the public cloud, it's very enticing. He said it was kind of like a timeshare. It just sounded too good to be true. I wanted to get there. The cost sounded like it was going to be the perfect place. But sometimes the more you get in there and you find there's higher costs for going into extra usage or higher capacity needs, trying to pull back the data, repatriate it, it's going to be expensive. And so some of our best GreenLake customers recently have been customers who had gone pretty headstrong into the public cloud and found that they really needed for some of these legacy or data requirements to be on-premise, and the economics are at or exceeding what they were doing in the public cloud. So it makes sense to take a look, get more information, but that's why GreenLake, again, 10 years of experience, and we're leading the way with customer retention. It's been really, really great. So, Bob, I don't know if you want to make any comments, but here's kind of, again, just a way for people, entry point's pretty easy.
Yeah, it's really incredible the way HPE has involved the GreenLake program. Up until maybe just a few years ago, it was really successful only in the large kinds of real big rollouts. But HPE evolving it down to almost the individual component for ability for customers to acquire just a pool of storage or maybe just some backup capacity. It's really a powerful way of getting on-prem infrastructure. It's sovereign, it's single tenant, secure, yet it's cloud-like in the way that it's operated and the way it's consumed. It's really come down to the market level where almost any customer can take advantage of it. Pretty cool offering, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I hope this is kind of whetting your appetite to get more information or have a talk with HPE GreenLake and PDS specialists. And we'd love to do that, because the more we dive into kind of your particular needs, we give you more and more information on how GreenLake can actually benefit and solve a lot of those problems for you. So we're ready and willing to do that, and hopefully give us a chance. Appreciate your time this morning and listening to GreenLake, and I appreciate PDS giving us an opportunity to talk HPE GreenLake with you.
That's a great presentation. Thank you both, Dan and Bob, for sharing some fantastic stats, chock full of information on how organizations can get started with GreenLake and take advantage of all its benefits. Listeners, be sure to check out the PDS and HPE websites listed here on this slide for more information. And on behalf of PDS, HPE, and IDG, thanks so much for joining us.